They don't spend anything.
That's right, we don't. We're not responsible for anything. All right, so the time is now 11 o'clock. I'm reconvening the meeting. And we have a quorum present, so I'll hand over to Janine to deliver the Treasury Management and Monitoring Report, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So a lot of this report just provides a slightly different view on the investment performance information that you've already received from Macau through their presentation. Probably just the key point that I wanted to raise in there was in relation to the position of our equalisation reserve. So the equalisation reserve serves to smooth the investment fund return so that we can continue to distribute some of the return to subsidise our rates revenue. We had started the year in a deficit position of 2.6 million. As I'd said, when we redid the SIPO through the last LTP, that deficit was about 11 million, I think, at that point in time. So the distribution policy was very much targeted at recovering that deficit. And as at the end of December, with those market tailwinds, that reserve is now in a position of $3 million in surplus. So that's really good to see that turning around. The other aspects of the report, probably just in terms of our working capital funds management. So in terms of the rates that council assesses, we only invoice once a year with a due date at the end of October. So we get a large cash inflow at that period of time, which we then manage through a series of term deposits that are matched with estimated cash flows. So that's why we're looking quite cash rich at the moment. Those funds will be released as we're spending down in both our operating and capital expenditure programs. And then finally in the report is just an update in terms of our external borrowing, which we secure through the Local Government Funding Agency. Is that the 31st of December, we had $39 million of actual borrowing in place, with that projected, total borrowings projected to just under 59 at the end of this financial year. The actual borrowing that we have in place is somewhat understated because we have been utilising working capital funds rather than doing the borrowing, so it's just a little bit more efficient. So there's an intention that we shore up both of those numbers so that we borrow to where our borrowing program should be, and then we can invest that in terms of working capital funds. So we're very clear on both sides of the balance sheet, but we're waiting to do that until we've worked through a credit rating process. So we don't want to do a lot of new borrowing until we've got a credit rating in place, because we get slightly better rates for that long-term borrowing once we've got that under our belts. So that's sort of just foreshadowing a bit of work that will be occurring in that borrowing area. Happy to take any questions, Mr.
Thanks, Janine. The credit rating, when do you propose commencing that process?
So Raj has been in discussions with PwC, who are our advisors around the borrowing program, around in terms of the process that we need to go through. So, yeah.
So that'll be next financial year, presumably.
Yeah, I'd hope that we will need to do an RFP process in terms of a provider.
Yep.
But once we've got that, then we should be ready to go. And PwC have supported a number of councils through that.
Good, thank you. Anybody else any questions for Janine? If not, I'll move the report, Treasury Management Monitoring Report. Keith, second it, thank you. All in favour? Against? Carried, thank you. Right, so the next item on the agenda is the rates information.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is
Janine's taken that too.
Yeah. So this is really just a quick snapshot of our rates collection activity for this financial year is at the 31st of December. So our rates assessed was pretty much on target. So I'm just looking at the numbers in the report. We had achieved the rate strike basically right on budget for the year, and as at the end of December, because of that due date at the end of October, we had received 84% of rates payments and by that end of the last calendar year. So that's pretty much in line with previous year performance. When we consider all the payments that have been received, remissions that have been granted, and those accounts that we have on agreed payment arrangements, which of course we allow payment over the financial year so that we can spread that burden for ratepayers. The balance outstanding for current year rates as at the end of December is 7% that section. I think those are the main points. We do provide a breakdown of the remissions that have been granted with a comparison to last financial year. We can continue to see growth in the value of the hardship remissions that council applies, and that's through the closer working relationship that we have with territorial authorities. So we understand where ratepayers are eligible at a TA level and connect that with our own policy, which is basically eligibility for DIA rebate. But that's pleasing to see that relief is actually flowing through to those people. Happy to take any questions, Mr. Chair.
Thanks, Janine. Noel, question.
So my understanding and reading on page 135, the 7% is what's not under any sort of arrangement. And is that consistent with the previous years at that time?
Within 1%. So as at last year, same time, it was 6%.
So that, okay.
The value, that 1% is quite
it's pretty close.
Yeah. So I think we have been fortunate around our rates collection activity that we've sort of seen pretty consistent performance year on year in terms of those different milestones that we track to. We haven't seen a market decline in terms of our ability to collect rates.
I think we're dealing with rates and public excluded as well.
That's the other debt.
Yes. I've got a question for that. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Chris. With that rates for remission, I know you commented, Janine, on the hardship side of it, but are we seeing an increase in the remissions around charities and not-for-profits? And I know some councils get rates for remission on their community halls and stuff like that. Are we seeing a growth in that area as well, or is that fairly steady?
Through the chair, I think it's fairly steady, although I'm looking at the values that are reported, and our community remission has actually gone up quite substantially, but there'll be an underlying increase in the rates that are being remitted as well. We had put a couple of reports through this committee last year on some of those community remissions to test who we were providing it to, and was that the right list, and some requests that we were seeing coming through in terms of council perspective, did they fit? So we have tested that application just to make sure that it's sort of meeting, that there's consistency in the way it's being applied, and it's meeting.
And I know the organisations in my area that have received it, I'm quite comfortable with, that it's justified as such, under our terms. So thank you.
My question was actually along the similar vein. What I've found in the past is that if there's been quite a big increase in the remissions, it's often because we've promoted the fact that those are available. A lot of people go unaware in our communities that there's an opportunity to apply. Do you think that might be the case here? Because it's a significant increase in the hardship remission fund.
Yeah, so through the chair, we haven't promoted it per se, but the rates team connected in with their peers at the district council. So as I say, they're aware of where, so the district council sort of almost be promoting it on our behalf in terms of if they're eligible. Did you know that you could also get this remission? Yeah, so because that's where the test is going to lie, because our remission criteria are basically, if you're eligible for the DIA rebate, then you're eligible for our remission. We didn't do any require our staff to do an assessment in terms of hardship and what that means. So the DIA rebate is really that absolute ambulance at the bottom of the cliff type relief. So we've hooked our policy to that.
Just before I come to you, Keith, forestry alleviator, what does the remission relate to?
Yeah, so that is under Project Watershed. In terms of the contributor rate that is assessed across the catchment area, there is remission provided for forestry to not have to pay a portion of that.
Yeah, just really my ignorance. The DIA subsidy, what percent, to what level does that come out at?
So through the chair, so it's Department of Internal Affairs, their rates rebate scheme. It is, Councillor Stolbert probably has more knowledge on the workings of it than me. Basically, it is relief on liability for some rates for ratepayers who have very low levels of income, and it is really in terms of at the level of receiving superannuation with no other funds available, that they've provided a percentage or dollar value maximum in terms of a rebate on that, but it's funded through the government. So the councils administer the process and apply the rebate, but the fund actually comes.
Which is why councils are often happy to promote it.
So we can't access that. Our rates are taken into consideration in the eligibility for rebate or the amount of rebate that's granted. But particularly through this policy came about particularly through COVID in terms of being able to provide some relief to those of our ratepayers that are going to be struggling the most to meet.
And that's 100% for those eligible.
No, it's at a percentage of their rates account.
Thank you for applying, Keith.
Of the average residential rate, sorry.
I say you're thinking of applying. Okay. Any other questions for Janine on that? Other than move for that report. Thanks, Warren. Second, thanks, Keith. All in favour? Against, carried. Right, thank you, Janine. We're moving ahead in great style. Next one, tenders board contracts. Eric joining us online, or
Person, I think.
do you want to move forward to the next item on the agenda?
We can do, and if she hasn't joined us shortly, then we can go back to it.
So, Councillor, we'll just move forward one, if that's all right with councillors. Councillor, Chief Executive and Director expenses. It shouldn't take too long to get this one passed.
That's last words. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is a report that we just regularly provide to this committee for transparency and visibility in terms of both elected member costs as well as those of the Chief Executive and directors. So there is noted, we've provided year-to-date figures for this report. Normally we would do them for the quarter and then the year-to-date, but because this is our first time reporting to you. So probably just happy to take any questions that members may have in terms of the information that's provided. Questions around your own expenses as they're recorded if needed as well, and we can follow those up.
So, does anybody have any questions for Janine? Not. I'm happy to move this resolution. Seconder, please. Thanks, Warren. All in favour? Against? Carried. So we have two choices now.
We can carry on.
You happy to carry on?
She's on her way down, but
Oh, okay.
we can carry on. Introduce the report. Then Erica can jump in if needed. Just noting that Erica Douse is our new procurement lead. So she wasn't actually involved in the tenders that are reported here. She started with us just at the beginning of this calendar year. Here she comes right now. So she has compiled the report based on the decisions that have been made through the tenders board over this last quarter. Again, this information is really provided for the information of the committee, providing transparency to all of those contracting decisions that are made by the tenders board, which is noted in earlier conversations, is for any contract value over 250,000. There's a couple in here in terms of energy contract extensions and the like that council will be aware of, that they have also come past you, given that.
So just before we get started, sorry, through you, Mr. Chair, I have a question around the Bill Wolseley one, and I'm just wondering, so the information is in public? That's okay to discuss that, being a natural person in that space? Yeah. It's just a question around process, whether I'm happy to discuss it in open. And it's all the facts and figures are there, which is already out in the public domain.
Yeah.
So, okay, thank you. I'll ask.
My recommendation would be to ask the question and then
We
we
can
might
assess.
reassess.
So happy to let the report come and then speak to the question.
Yeah, so provide an introduction, Erica, just whether there's anything else that you want to add to it. I've just noted you weren't here for all of these ones. So, but yeah, opportunity. There've been a couple of questions coming from the committee today around procurement. So just again, introducing another member of the team. Erica just joined us at the beginning of January as our procurement lead, and leading us through a bit of a review of where we're at and how we're operating in this opportunity. Fabulous to have her as part of the team.
Welcome, Erica.
Thank you.
The chair.
Thanks. So as Jenny mentioned, unfortunately, I wasn't involved in any of the activity that was reported on in the last quarter. That's not to say I'm not happy to take away any questions and provide any clarity that I can. If I obviously have very limited information to date, but certainly more than happy to find anything out. If there is anything specific. Answer any questions?
I'll go to my question and thank you. First off, yeah, with obviously understanding that Bill Wolseley is the chair, independent chair of Future Proof, I'm just looking at the justification, or wanting to understand the justification of a 45% rise in his contract. Now, I may be slightly incorrect because I don't know whether the previous one was for 14 months. I'm assuming it was because the value was stated at 180. It's now gone up to 262, which is a 45% increase. So I just querying that.
So you're wanting to confirm that that is correct?
No, I want to understand the reasoning behind that 45% raise in a contract and why it potentially didn't go out to market.
Chris, I think, wants to comment.
That may be the case.
Janine, I think I was on that tender, so I'm not sure if you were or not.
I was,
But
yeah.
from memory, it was a limited period extension.
Yeah.
And so because it was a limited period and because where Future Proof is at in some of the discussions of ministers and whatever, I believe it was I think an external group of people made that recommendation to the tenders board for that
Correct.
extension in time.
Correct. So it was a request of Future Proof effectively to extend that contract noting that they're the ones that actually fund that engagement. So while we administer the contract,
I found this really strange when I got into local government, and the councils generally report that the contract's now valued at X, but it doesn't say the contract was for 14 months, but now there's an additional period of time and that value is there, and the total, that's how Waikato used to do it. It was totally confusing. So, you know, if it's an extension of time, what is that time, and is it equal value to the 45,000? Oh, sorry, the 82,000, sorry.
Of course, that's quite right. I think that it's misleading the way it's been.
Councils will do it, but it's misleading. So it's the relativity of on the base contract.
So happy, so that clarity isn't there.
That's
You're
right.
assuming that's what it is.
Well, I'm
So
assuming.
I'd like clarity around if that is what it is.
I can provide that
Yes,
clarity. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Yes. I can't do it right now, I'm afraid.
Okay, happy for it to come back.
And okay, we'll wait until it comes back and then we can to action.
Yeah, can I just add to that though? The future-proof partners have never discussed a value. And I don't believe it's ever gone out for tender. So I'd like some clarity around that as well. Because the future-proof partners just simply provide advice that they're very, very exceptionally happy with the chairmanship, but we've certainly never discussed the details of a financial contract or rate.
Thanks, Liz. So maybe that can be included in the reporting back, please.
The other thing is, could we find out the amount of time that requires? Because it's a monthly meeting at the moment and it's a 1 day, or is it a continuous? Right. Quarterly. So
Looking for a new job then.
$500 an hour.
Thank you. Are there any other questions that we would like to ask of Erica while she's here? Okay, thanks, Warren. If not, somebody would like to move this resolution, please. Thanks, Keith. Somebody second? No, thank you. Robbie second.
Noting that information will come back. Yeah.
Yes, yep.
yeah, so, and sorry, councillors, I'm just reviewing the report that was considered by Tenders Board. So very quick scan of it is extending the contract out to December 2026. It was noted that that contract extension was within existing funds that the Future Proof Partnership already had. So it wasn't asking for any additional funding. It was within that achieved savings in other areas that they were to put into this extension of contract.
So Janine, that 82,000 is an extension for how long, months wise?
So we'll come back, trying to read it really quickly,
Okay,
probably not
good.
being helpful, but we'll come back formally.
I might just suggest there's some
summary of
flawed logic in that thinking there. It's because you've got money and pity doesn't mean you say you have to spend it.
may have
think
been
it's
a
been
June
like-
to June and it's extended till December, so that would give you 4 months.
Yeah, so we'll
And
come
that
back.
wasn't the
with-
justification.
We'll come back with the specifics on contract term.
And just as part of that, what oversight or say does any of the regional council staff or councillors have in that? Nothing.
We have an
Future
FPIC
Proof.
meeting coming up.
Or ELT, but this is under delegated authority from the chief executive then for our share. Right.
All right, thank you. So that, I think, is the finish of our open agenda. So we've got resolutions being passed. So, okay, so the next resolution is to exclude the public from the meeting.
Happy to move.
Noel. Thanks, Erica.